Greetings, cinephiles. Welcome to a Movies Recaplistus, your comprehensive channel for succinct, insightful, and engaging movie recaps and reviews. If you are reconnecting, selecting your next viewing, or have a passion for movies, you have arrived at the appropriate destination. Today, we dive into the world of Django, a film that makes you question human morality, motives, character, and resilience. We will analyze the storyline, provide essential insights, and provide my candid assessment of the film's value, whether it merits your time or not. Prepare your popcorn, take a seat, and let us begin. In the American South, 1858, 2 years before the Civil War, a chain gang of enslaved men laboriously traverses the frigid landscape of Texas. Included among them is Django, a taciturn individual with a troubled gaze and a physique scarred by violence. His existence is characterized by a cycle of possession, suffering, and endurance until one evening, a transformation occurs. Emerging from the shadows is Dr. King Schultz, a German immigrant, itinerant dentist, and bounty hunter, characterized by his loquacity and his aversion to slavery. Schultz is pursuing the infamous Brittle Brothers' cruel overseers with a history of violence, and Django is the one person capable of recognizing them. Concealing a weapon in his wagon and possessing a bounty license, Schultz approaches Django's captors in a matter of minutes. Schultz has shot a slaver, liberated Django, and abandoned the others to their own devices. It is not an act of heroism, it is a transaction. However, it marks the inception of something greater. Act 1. The collaboration. Schultz regards Django as an equal and unconventional notion in this era and context. He proposes a bargain to Django, assist him in locating the Brittle Brothers, and in return, he would get not only his liberation, but also financial reward and a sense of purpose. Their expedition starts in the frigid, snow-covered highlands. Django, still unshod, acquires the skills of marksmanship, horsemanship, and the ability to discern character, akin to Schultz. He has an innate talent of burgeoning gunslinger. Upon locating the Brittles at a plantation owned by Big Daddy Bennett, Django acts without hesitation. He personally eliminates 2 of the brothers, regaining a fragment of his authority. Impressed by Django's determination and skill, Schultz proposes to enlist him a bounty hunting companion for the winter season. The 2 eradicate outlaws across the border, forging a fraternity founded on blood and justice. Django has a more profound motivation: his wife, Broomhilda. Act 2. The expedition to Candyland. Broomhilda was separated from Django during an unsuccessful escape attempt. She was sold to Calvin Candie, a depraved plantation owner with an affinity for brutality and dominance. Candie not only has slaves, but also breeds and combats them in savage death contests known as Mandingo fights. Candyland, his plantation, is notorious for its brutality. To rescue Broomhilda, Schultz devises a strategy. He and Django would masquerade as affluent purchasers intending to acquire one of Candie's warriors for an exorbitant sum $12,000. Their actual objective was to divert Candie's attention enough to facilitate the negotiation for Broomhilda's release as a supplementary component of the agreement. Django is compelled to assume the role of a figure he abhors, a black enslaver. It is a harrowing performance that captures Candie's attention and ultimately secures his admission to Candyland. Django clandestinely reunites with Broomhilda. Their reunion is subdued, apprehensive, and imbued with yearning, the flicker of hope that has sustained them both. Candyland is a domicile constructed on mistrust. Act 3. Revelation and treachery. Stephen, Candie's profoundly devoted house slave, becomes wary. In contrast to Candie, Stephen perceives the deception. He observes the discreet exchanges between Django and Broomhilda and swiftly deduces the implications. He reveals the deceit, compelling Candie to alter the narrative. Furious, Candie threatens to murder Broomhilda unless they remit the whole sum for her release. Schultz, profoundly insulted by Candie's arrogant malevolence, begrudgingly consents until Candie compels him to shake hands to finalize the agreement. Schultz declines in an instantaneous choice. He fires at Candie at close range, striking him in the chest. He is promptly assassinated in retaliation. Disorder ensues. Django seizes a firearm and unleashes wrath. The gunfight is both stylish and savage, with blood staining the plantation's white walls. However, being outnumbered and outgunned, Django is ultimately apprehended. He is suspended inverted, subjected to torment, and designated for execution. What is the current plan? Transfer him to a mining corporation where he will labor till his demise obscure and unrecognized. Act 4. Redemption and Retribution. Django is an exceptional individual en route to the mine. He outwits his captors, eliminates them, and returns to Candyland like a vengeful specter. This time, he arrives not as a victim, but as an adjudicator. He forcefully opens the plantation gates and devastates the remnants of Candie's heritage. In a climactic encounter, he confronts Stephen, the one who betrayed his own kin to retain authority. Django remains unperturbed. He abandons Stephen among the smoldering ruins of Candyland. Accompanied by a stick of dynamite, he departs leisurely and victorious as the estate detonates behind him. Final scene. Liberation achieved. Django departs under the moonlight with Broomhilda with him. They are liberated for the first time, not just from shackles, but from the specters of those who tried to possess them. Django Unchained concludes not with nuance, but with conflagration. During catharsis, in the reconfiguration of a genre and a historical narrative, closing narration, Django Unchained is a film characterized by contradictions, savage but sleek, terrifying yet darkly funny, and pulpy yet politically motivated. Tarantino used the Western mythos to narrate a tale of retribution, love, and emancipation, not via heroic figures and arid taverns, but from the perspective of a black man with nothing to lose and everything to contest. This is not a history lecture, nor is it intended to be. It is a sanguinary dream that audaciously envisions the nature of justice in a world devoid of it. At its core, Django Unchained is about revenge as justice, an unapologetic fantasy of liberation told through gunfights and explosions. Django isn't just out to rescue his wife, he's a symbolic figure fighting a system designed to erase him. His journey from enslaved man to mythic gunslinger flips the traditional Western on its head. The cowboy isn't white anymore, he's black, and he's angry. Love also plays a powerful role. Django's loyalty to Broomhilda echoes the Broomhilda myth. Schultz describes a damsel guarded by fire, waiting for a hero. But here, it's not a prince or a knight who saves her, it's her husband, forged by fire. The film confronts the dehumanizing violence of slavery, but filters it through genre tropes and pulp cinema. This clash of style and subject is where much of the film's controversy and power resides. Controversy, language, violence, and historical representation. Tarantino's portrayal of slavery is intentionally graphic, confrontational, and offensive. He doesn't shy away from the horrors, whippings, branding, dog maulings, and the relentless use of the N-word over 100 times in the film. Critics like Spike Lee denounce the film, arguing that it turns America's darkest history into a spaghetti Western sideshow. Lee called it disrespectful to my ancestors. Others praised Tarantino for doing what many filmmakers avoided, depicting slavery as a violent, dehumanizing institution while giving its victims the power to fight back. Tarantino doesn't offer a historically accurate portrait, but he never claims to. This is myth-making, not journalism. A genre film with blood, bullets, and liberation as catharsis, the Mandingo fighting subplot where enslaved men are forced to fight to the death was criticized as fictional exploitation, a Tarantino invention that borders on cruelty porn. But for some, it powerfully represents how far the slave economy went in turning human lives into commodities. Style, Tarantino's cinematic mashup. Stylistically, Django Unchained is vintage Tarantino, a chaotic blend of genres, tones, and eras. The soundtrack pulls from Ennio Morricone's spaghetti westerns, 70s soul, and even modern hip-hop, with Rick Ross playing during a Civil War-era gunfight. The camera work is dynamic. Whip pans, zoom-ins, freeze frames, and stylized blood splatter create a heightened reality. The violence is exaggerated, theatrical use both for shock and for symbolic retribution. Tarantino paints in red, there, are homages to films like The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly, Mandingo, 1975, and even blaxploitation cinema. Django's final costume of blue velvet suit is a nod to Shaft, another black hero who broke cinematic norms. Direction, Tarantino's. Control and Visi on Taranto's direction here is more ambitious and provocative than ever. He's not just telling a revenge story, he's dissecting American myth through exploitation cinema. Every character is heightened, theatrical, but rooted in emotional clarity. Casting is key. Jamie Foxx plays Django with seething restraint. He simmers instead of explodes. Christoph Waltz delivers a charming, verbose Schultz equal parts mentor and moral compass. Leonardo DiCaprio goes full villain as Candie, arrogant, educated, casually sadistic. Samuel L. Jackson's Stephen is perhaps the most complex character, a black man weaponizing loyalty to white power. Fully aware and complicit, Tarantino walks a tightrope mocking racists, indulging genre fantasy, but also spotlighting the systemic rot at slavery's core. He's not offering solutions. He's pointing a camera at America's darkest corners and asking, what if we flipped the script? Closing reflection, Django Unchained is polarizing and deliberately so. It's a film that entertains while it discomforts, that celebrates. While it critiques, Tarantino weaponizes genre to reframe history, not to correct it, but to reclaim space for a kind of hero cinema rarely allowed to black protagonists. For some, it's empowering. For others, it's too stylized to be sincere. Either way, it demands a reaction, and that's what great cinema often does.